8:32. Good morning, everyone. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen of the town of New Canaan on Tuesday, September 6, 2022 at 8:32 a.m. Before we get started, I move that we amend the agenda to add an item. The Preservation Alliance is here to do a presentation. So I would move we add an item just before we go into executive session at the end. So it'll be number 23 or 2022.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. This is a hybrid meeting. Well, next item on our agenda is the minutes from our last meeting. Any comments or corrections on the minutes from the last meeting?
None here.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes from the last August 23rd meeting?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Public comments. Members of the public are welcome to provide comments to the Board of Selectmen on agenda topics scheduled for review and or vote. Comments submitted electronically should be sent to by email to bosdistribution@newcanaanct.gov, and we'll read them before the end of the meeting. This is a hybrid meeting, so people can't. Pam, is anybody on from the public for public comment? Is anyone here for public comment in person? Seeing no one who wishes to comment, we will move on to the next item, item 3. Lynn Abney, our town planner, is presenting regarding the Westcog annual dues. But go ahead.
Oh, did you want to read it or no?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. This is just a standard, our annual dues for Westcog. We're a member of Westcog. We're one of 18 municipalities in Fairfield County that are members. And this is just our request to pay the dues.
Okay.
This comes out of the land use budget, is that right?
It does.
How come?
That's why she's here. That was my budget.
Yeah, I did too.
Go ahead.
It's really kind of your gig.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. So the amount of 11,000 and change, is that the same for every participant in Westcog, or is it specific about population? How is that number
I
determined?
actually don't know.
I don't know either. I'll find out.
Okay, great.
There are 17 or 18 members of Westcog. It's a collaboration of the area towns and cities that work on planning matters primarily for the Southwest region. So any further questions?
None here.
I move we approve the request to pay the Westcog annual dues of $11,314.
Second.
Second, all for the discussion, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Now we have Tiger for 1, 2, 3, 4 items. Good morning, Tiger.
Good morning.
Morning.
The first item is for the it's through the wastewater treatment facility, but it's the landfill slope mower. We're replacing a 20-year-old mower, a cut quick mower. We're replacing in kind. We did go out for bid with this public bid. We received one bid back and then a bid letter from another manufacturer that they are no longer carry the cut quick mower themselves. So we'd like to go forward with the purchase for $67,924. Excuse me, for the mower. The money's in our budget. So
What kind of mower is this?
it's a landfill slope mower. So it's basically it's a very specific type of mower, since all the slopes around the landfill themselves are on a steep angle. The seat kind of rotates so the gentleman won't fall off the mower, and then he can cut all the slopes there. We have as part of our permit with DEP, we have to maintain the landfill, at a certain height. A lot of the plantings and the grasses are on at a certain height, do a certain number of cuttings, because there's a liner underneath, so we can't necessarily allow it to grow up with trees or weed growth that might come through and puncture the liner itself.
Further questions?
What happens to the, what happens to the original one? Is that
That one's
scrapped
gonna-
or
Yeah, that'll be scrapped.
it's no
That'll be
useful life? Okay.
How old is that, Tig?
That's 20 years old. That was the first mower we bought when we capped the landfill. So this is the first replacement.
I move we approve the request from Public Works to purchase the landfill slope mower as described by Tiger for $67,924.
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor? Aye.
So the next is a dumpster service throughout town. We have a number of locations where we have dumpsters primarily for when we instituted the carry in, carry out policy back in about 2007, 2008. So we have dumpsters at the high school, police department, Saks, Waveney, fire department, and Mead Park. They've all been serviced by city carting. We'd like to extend their contract for 1 year, and then next year we plan to go out for a town-wide dumpster service for everything in the parks, everything that we have at every location. But for this 1 year, we'd like to continue what we have, our relationship with city carting for the year for $12,054. I added a contingency of $1,800 for a total of $13,854.
So what do you mean next year we want to do?
Next year, we'll combine this. We have a couple of other dumpsters.
That
we
was,
have.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we're trying to consolidate everything into one, but since they're already in place and they've been doing a very good service for us and they haven't changed their pricing, we felt it was prudent to continue with them for the year.
No further questions? I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with city carting in the total amount of $13,854, which includes a $1,800 contingency. Second,
Second. Oh,
all in
sorry.
favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiger. Waveney
Good,
Outdoor Bathroom Annex.
So the next, this is a contract for architectural services with Architectural Preservation Studio for the design of the annex, the outdoor bathroom annex at the Powerhouse campus. So the council came forward and determined that we could utilize an annex adjacent to or built adjacent to the Powerhouse Theater as the location for the bathroom. The potting shed, the final usage of the potting shed still remains to be determined by the council, but they signaled their approval to go forward with the annex feature for the outdoor bathrooms at Waveney. So Architectural Preservation Studios came forward with a fee of $30,000, put a 15% contingency of $4,500 on it for a total of $34,500. That'll get us all the way through and up to bidding phases. Construction administration we can add later if we need to.
Any questions?
Is there a reason we didn't bid this out?
These are professional services, and they've already started doing all the work with the potting shed and the Powerhouse campus itself. So, and they had already basically given a schematic and a location and determined exactly what needed to be done. So I felt it was best just to go with them. But it is professional services. We don't necessarily have to.
Is this,
Again, they were already on campus doing the potting shed and the Powerhouse. So I thought it was best to continue.
Understood.
are architectural fees normally a percentage of the overall project, or how do they determine them?
This is based on their, it's not a percentage of the overall project, even though it is close. This is based on what they consider their effort would be for the work itself. And then if there's anything else above and beyond that, but they feel that the construction drawings or preparing of the structure drawings is $15,000 to work with the MEP systems would be $8,000. Then to structural work is another $2,500, and then the bidding phase is $4,000, and they allowed reimbursables of $500 to get us to $30,000. So that's how they broke it out.
Further questions?
None here.
I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Architectural Preservation Studio for a total amount of $34,500 for the architectural design of the outdoor bathrooms at Waveney, as discussed by Tiger. Second, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the last of my items is a conduit installation for eventually to get to 220 Elm Street. Now that we own that, we'll have the BOE offices there. We had done a similar installation a number of years ago to tie the Board of Ed in down at Locust, down Locust Avenue from the firehouse. This will bring conduit from Town Hall through the parking lots all the way to Park Street. And then I'll be bidding out the sidewalk work on Park Street along the railroad track or along the train station itself. And we plan to place the conduit underneath there, and that will be part of that project itself. For this project here, just to get from town hall through the parking lot, through basically part of the town hall parking lot, the Playhouse lot, and then the access road that leads from the Playhouse lot to Park Street. I asked Hussey Brothers Excavating for a price. He came in with a very good price of $25,785. I added a 15% contingency of $4,000 for a total of $29,785. And what this will do is it'll bring conduits out of the town hall, tie in the Playhouse, and then continue on forward down to Park Street to then tie in 220 Elm. So we'll have everyone eventually tied into fiber, and we'll bring the secondary contract back to you, and then the fiber contract back to you.
So are we ripping up roads to do this or?
We're ripping up the parking lot for this project, but the parking lot's already been ripped because it's following the gas line
Right.
that came in.
Right.
So adjacent to that will be following the gas line. Park Street in this section is already done. You know, it's already been torn up because of the gas where it came up
Right.
from there. And then Elm Street, Upper Elm Street hasn't been repaved yet, but we're going to be going in the sidewalk so that we'll tear out the existing sidewalk and replace it with brick sidewalk and put the conduit underneath there. To make it easy, there's a lot of utilities in the street at present, specifically around the Elm Street, Park Street intersection, and then heading up Elm Street. You can imagine, you got 2 water lines, gas lines, some electrical lines.
How deep is
electrical
the
services.
conduit?
18 inches.
Was it a 4-inch cut?
We're using two twos. So there'll be 4 twos coming out of town hall to get to and then 2 will go to the Playhouse, and then 2 will head towards the BOE.
Why
So
we
we
use
use-
the Playhouse?
So we can have that tied in as well. It's in one of our buildings. We don't know exactly what's going to happen there. The additional conduit number is not a lot of money for the material. It's mostly the labor to tear it all out, put it in.
Just if you can clarify, just so what's actually in the conduit? It's fiber?
It'll be a fiber line.
Strictly?
It'll be a fiber line later. Yeah, right now it's just laying the conduit.
Right,
Right.
okay. And so then once the fiber is in, what sort of, is it, there's some sort of data transfer or
It's
something?
for everything. Yeah,
This is our
our
WAN.
voice and data and
Okay.
phones.
Those are
Okay.
privately owned
Okay.
fiber
Yeah.
throughout town that
Okay.
connects all the town buildings and the schools. And 39 Locust, which will be used by the police for a period of time. So.
Right.
Correct.
39 Locust is already hooked. into
39
that,
Locust is
yeah.
already hooked up. Yeah, we did that back when we put the sidewalks in on Locust Avenue. We put that conduit in and tied in the Board of Ed, but that was a decade ago.
Right.
So to Kevin's point, we have a wide area network, basically our own system of fiber that connects all of our buildings.
Just so to remind me, we couldn't make the land available to private interests, but anyway, but that's a separate question. Okay, well,
Right. The other aspect for the Playhouse is to tie in camera systems at the Playhouse.
yes,
So
okay.
it's-
The reason for it. Questions further?
None.
I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Hussey Brothers as described by Tiger for a total of $29,075 to lay the conduit to 220 Elm and the Playhouse. Second,
Second,
further discussion?
None here.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Tiger.
Thank you.
Good morning, Bill.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Nice.
Busy morning.
yes,
We're removing the seats from the Playhouse this morning.
yes, I know,
So-
yeah.
Welcome. I knew it would rain. Once I got
Yeah,
it.
the
do
rain
some other
came
work.
down just for that, yes.
Yeah, we got a good early start, so it's moving. It's happening. You want to read these out or you want me to just go through each one?
As far as the,
Doing first here.
we'll go, just describe 220 Elm briefly. When we bought 220 Elm, we agreed we would take the stairway out. The second floor tenant wanted it out and they did want it out, so.
Right, so became a little bit more involved than we first anticipated because of the engineering structural stuff that was involved. It's interfering with the second floor owner's space. He wants to rent it, so we got to kind of expedite this. Part of the agreement, I think, was 30 days. We're kind of past that 30 days. And so we'd like to back into this with approval for Alden Bailey for the amount of 17,900 plus a contingency of $5,000 for a floor allowance, because we don't know what we're gonna do for a finished floor upstairs yet. And then for a total project of 22,900. The money's available for this as part of the Board of Ed project money. So we're just seeking approval to contract Alden Bailey to do
This is
this work.
additional beyond the money that we have to take the stairway out. This is just the floor.
This is just to repair the floor.
Right.
Using the money that we have for the Board of Ed to do all this work.
So you don't have a contingency, you just have an allowance. Is that right, Bill?
Yeah, we just use the allowance there based on a square footage price if we restore the floor. We're not sure what this fit out's gonna be on the second floor. So I'm gonna, worst case, it'll be probably around 5,000 to put the wood floors back in. If they say not to put the wood floors back in, they want to do something else. We'll just make an agreement with them or just pay for that 100 square feet or so that we own.
No, I'm still not clear. This is that we're spending the money that we bonded to build it, to
Yeah.
purchase the building, which included the renovations. for the
Yes.
Board of Ed.
Yes,
So
all
we're-
part of the project. Yeah.
Right. And this is the entire cost of removing the stairs and doing the floor.
Yeah.
Right. And Alden Bailey was selected because,
Well, it's hard to get contracts right now and getting pricing from everybody. It was a little involved with the engineering. And we had Alden Bailey working a couple of projects for us already, so I was able to move him around. And he's moment's notice, he went right there and he started ordering the steel and everything and getting it going.
they're doing the
Uh,
play, they're doing the first phase of the Playhouse.
Yeah, so
What's the timing on this, Bill? Does it change anything in terms of our expected timing, in terms of moving the BOE in? Or is it just
No,
part of the process?
no, this is more for the second floor tenants, our legal obligation to them. We are working through the plan. I've met with the architects, engineers and everybody and Brian. I've been working closely with Brian and Leslie on this. We're hoping to get out the bid for that before the holidays and probably get it started right after the first year, maybe a little sooner. We'll see how it all unfolds.
And the removal of the stairs, does that create any issue in terms of egress from the tenants on the second floor?
No, that was added after effect. I think the tenant wanted, at that time wanted more, it was Gridiron wanted also to rent the first floor. And they wanted their own internal set of stairs. It's pretty high-end stuff. It was all, financial and legal officers do a lot of this when they put internal stairs just so they don't have to go out to the lobby. So that was pretty much what they did. So we're just putting it back to the way it originally was.
Okay.
Further questions?
Good.
I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Alden Bailey Restoration as described by Bill for a total of $22,900 for the 220 Elm Street building, stair removal and floor replacement. Second,
Second here.
all in favor?
Aye.
That's
Yeah,
unanimous.
thank you. Guess we'll move on to the next item, the Playhouse Theater exterior repairs. This is the first phase of the larger project for the Playhouse. We're going to, we went out to bid. We did send the bid documents out, public advertised, and Alden Bailey and John Antonelli Roofing responded. We did the walkthrough. This was all architecturally designed by our architectural studios, the exterior work. It's mostly repointing, clean up the whole facade. As you can see, it does need repairs. And we're gonna rebuild the front windows and doors and everything, so they'll always look the same. We're just gonna bring them up to par with the insulated windows, window panes and what have you, and redo.
So the
window
look's
line.
gonna be the same, Bill.
Yeah, the only difference, if you really got into one up to it, if you looked at the glass, is gonna be insulated glass as opposed to just that single pane glass there. It's a lot of wood rot on there, so we're gonna rebuild it just as it is. Restore the whole thing there. And we're anticipating that we get that work started. ASAP. Part of the agreement on the documents where they have to start 10 days, within 10 days after your approval to get going, because we want to get it done before the winter sets in on us. So the plan is to get all the exterior work done by the Christmas, let's say. And by then we'll have hopefully bids out, if not back, for the interior, so we can roll right into the interior right after the first of the year.
How's that gonna impact traffic on the sidewalks? and
Very
phone plant?
minimal. The contractor is going to do mobile scaffolding, so that's not scaffolding the whole building like we did the whole front with the
Right.
roof. We're not going to go to that extent. He's really just going to do one section at a time, just keep moving his scaffolding right along. We don't anticipate a lot of materials for this. It'll all be in the back, so we won't block the sidewalk. We may rope off a couple little areas as they work. But other than that, it's going to be minimal.
This does not include the exterior sidewalk work.
Excuse me? No, this does not include any of the sidewalk work. That's another phase that we're looking at for the accessibility. Route going down the stairs and around the theater stuff. We're working on a plan with that too. And that'll be all incorporated at some point to make it all work. It's a challenge. I tell you, right now, it's a big challenge because of the grade changes, not only coming in and out of theater, but it's the stairs going down, the sidewalk slope. There's a lot of all this going on. So we're going to get it right.
So that whole alley is going to be changed.
The alley is going to be reworked. Elevation wise, maybe briefly, but mostly for drainage because there's no drainage in there now. So we want to address any drainage issues we have. Going in this, Tiger Man has a crew that's doing the side of work. We're going to stub in drainage pipes so we're not ripping up finished work so we'll have it all already into our side of the work zone, so to speak. Yeah, we got to clean up the alley. We're going to clean all around that building. And we want to move the compactor in the back, get that out of the way and really clean it up in the back of the theater. So it's a nice entranceway from the parking lots going into your downtown. So we want to make it presentable,
Not an entrance into the building, but you mean.
but into
along
the
side,
alley, right? We'd like to have it a nice entranceway.
And we're spending the theater fund money here still.
This is theater fund money on this project, correct?
Questions, further questions? I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Alden Bailey Restoration in the total amount of $527,229, which includes a contingency for the work as described by Bill for the facade exterior restoration work. Second,
Second.
further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to number 10, the sale of the Playhouse Theater projection and sound equipment. So the equipment there is a little over 11 years old. The shelf life on that type of equipment is usually 8 to 10 years, but since it has been running and it had minimal use, there is an interest in repurposing this. The original company who actually sold all the equipment is acting as a broker and was able to sell it, all the equipment for us. He gets a small commission. I don't know if you see the memo, but well, we had an offer of $16,750, 10% commission fee we pay to this to the broker. So net to us is $15,075. The equipment needs to be removed before we go any further because it is actually still running and kind of like a sleep mode, but you can't shut it off. I don't understand the science behind it, but you can't shut it off.
Lose the hard drive if you shut it off.
Yeah, so it's been running ever since. So companies out of Chicago, they're going to, if you approve the sale of this, they're going to expedite and try to get out here like within the next week or so and remove all the equipment and issue us a check. We'll get a bank check from the broker. I don't know if there's any other questions.
Questions?
What was the original cost 11 years ago?
It was a little over $100,000 for everything.
But we didn't own it.
Oh, we didn't own it.
No, we
But
never-
we own it now.
Well,
Yeah, that was
as part of the settlement of the bow-tie lease and leasing, they left this behind. And we thought if we went back into business, we'd be using this, but the new theater
it's totally
company
different.
wants to,
Now it's all
Installed.
computerized. These are pretty big units, probably size this table. They're going to, I guess, laptop mode,
it effectively eliminates the
projector room.
projector room.
Yeah, we're taking all the projector room out. You eliminate all that. And, and as Kevin has mentioned that it was part of the settlement when Bowtie left. So this helps ease some of that pain, I guess, when they left.
And I would note, because it's in the emails that I read, that it's going to my hometown, apparently the theater up there in Pittsfield, Mass. I had nothing to do with this transaction, so.
Yeah, I guess they repurposed them to some older theaters around and,
Glad
they
it's
gotta
being
do.
used. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
So we're selling something that we really didn't pay for in the beginning, so.
Yeah. As long as we own it now, I'm comfortable with that. But there's no tie-in back with bow tie that they would have no claim for it.
No,
okay?
they don't. That's why we got the original. Matter of fact, I worked with Joe Masher, who manages all the bow tie stuff. He's one that was able to hook us up with the original sales of this and actually sent us, I have the original invoices. So I knew what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
And then the people I spoke with and Joe kind of reinforced what they had said about the aged equipment and it doesn't last. It's always running, right? So
Mhm.
they have some work to do to it, to refurbish it and then get it back out in the market.
Great.
Those further questions, I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter a contract with Integrity Entertainment Systems in the total amount of $16,750 less the commission of 10%. for the removal and sale of the existing projection and sound equipment in the Playhouse Theater. Second,
Second here.
further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah,
You got one more?
well, we
Two
could-
more?
Yeah, we're.
Three more?
Yeah, we're rolling. So, number 11, emergency backup generator. This is a generator for the, volunteer ambulance corps building. As you know, we're going to be redoing the police department, which currently the power is drawn off of that generator. So we're going to sever that relationship and, little by little get the ambulance corps building, 100% on its own. This money was approved in the, capital budget. We did go out to bid. We received 2 bids. Northeast generator at the low bid of $83,088. We'd like a contingency of $2,912 for a total project of $86,000.
Questions?
Where's this located, Bill? Is it behind the EMS building? or
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the EMS building's gonna go on the right side of it behind it.
Behind it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then do we also install some sort of sound barriers?
It's in a
or-
sound continuing cabinet. It's actually a natural gas operated unit, so it's gonna run fairly quiet because of that. And there's fence already on that side over there, and I don't think there should be any issue at all.
Okay, thank you.
What's the age of the current generator?
There isn't.
Is no?
There's none there. They draw the power, emergency power off the generator at the police department. And some of the problem with that is when the police department goes
Right.
offline, we have to do something. So we want to make this building totally independent. It should have been from the day one.
It should have been, yeah, exactly.
We'll do that. And there's also gonna have a docking station that we've been promoting as our new emergency backup generator. Should a generator fail, we still have another source we can plug into it to pick up on it.
So this will make EMS completely separate from,
For emergency power, yes.
Yeah.
We just separated their heating system. We're just finishing that project up, which you all approved.
Right.
The only thing left over there will be the fiber network that we have a plan for. It's not a really big deal. And we're looking into the waste pipes over there, how we're gonna do that.
good.
No further questions. I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Northeast Generator for a total of $86,000 to install a emergency gas powered emergency generator at the Buchanan Emergency Medical Services Building. Second,
Second,
further discussion, all in favor? It's unanimous. Buchanan Daycare Facade repairs.
Yep, number 12, New Canaan Daycare Facade Repairs. This project was advertised and sent out to 5 contractors on this one. And Antonelli and Owen Belly, the responding parties to this. The work entails, if you're familiar with the daycare at the schoolhouse down in the east side of the building, that backside of the building needs some repairs, structural repairs. The spalling's happening on the concrete columns there, and some repointing on that side. So we've had some water issues over there. So we'd like to address that. Also, a part of the project is the double doors that go into the daycare are going to be addressed. They're original, they're very old, and we want to make those more secure. And we're, yeah, I think that's more, and we're discussing the possibility of changing the interior doors. Remember, I put it, I'm sorry, but the exterior doors for sure, we're doing the metal doors.
Was this in the budget?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We had $100,000 approved for all this work.
and the roofing company takes care of all that, the interior, the doors, et cetera.
Yeah,
Right,
he's got,
yes.
they run, also the property group is part of the roofing company. Yeah, they do all the work. And Anthony's done a lot of facade repairs and they're both very good contractors. And the fact that they're both local right here, it's a good resource.
Mhm.
No further questions. I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Antonelli Roofing for a total of $71,817 for the replacement of roofs at the Visitor Center, Rock House, and Cider House roof at the Nature Center.
No, at the daycare.
Take care. You're number 12.
Daycare.
Thank you.
Second.
We're doing I move that we approve a request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Antonelli. They're both Antonelli. In the amount of $93,500 for the repointing of portions of the exterior brick facade, repair columns, replace doors and as always described by Bill for the New Canaan Daycare Center. Second,
Second here.
further discussion? All in favor, aye. Now we get to the nature
Tuesday,
center.
it's Tuesday, just say it. Then number 13, New Canaan Nature Center, the roof replacement and repairs. This project was advertised. Two contractors, again, Antonelli and Alden Bailey responded to these bids. The roof replacement is the 2/3 portion of the visitor center. Several years ago, we did the original building roof, and now this is the new addition part of the roof we'd like to replace. And then there's also the Rock House roof, which is a historic building up there that as you enter the nature center, it's right there to use as a museum. There's kids use it as educational. And then the cider house, which is make cider there. Some roof repairs. It's the original slate roof, a very beefy roof, but they're coming loose and it needs a little repair and loving care. So we'd like to take care of why we're doing all this. This is all approved in the budget.
Just remind me, these are capital budget items that are bonded or no?
I don't know off the top of my head. They're either capital or they're bonded.
Over $50,000. Would they be bonded?
They could be, but we also used the residual bond money into capital. I said that right. I could get back. I could send you an email on that, which account it's coming from.
I suspect they're bonded.
Some may say, some may not, because we broke it out to each individual building. So one may be bonded and the others may not be because they didn't hit that threshold.
Well, but roofs are normally bonded. They last for
Right.
20, 30 years.
Because again,
Anyway,
And could let us know at
Yes.
some point. Yeah.
the point is they were all approved with the budget process. How's that?
Right. I'm just curious, and maybe in a separate conversation, just interested in whether rates have started to increase. Have we seen an increase in municipal bonding rates? And
I haven't heard it yet. I reached out to our bond council last week about starting off our look into the bonding one along with our brokers.
okay, great. Thank you.
I guess the technical answer is that we approved a bond resolution. Whether or not we bond it is a separate question.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
so,
curious about
Yeah.
the rates. Yeah.
further questions? I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Altonelli Roofing for a total of $71,817 for the roof replacements at the Visitor Center, Rock House, and Cider House roof as described by Bill at the Nature Center. Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. You look bored.
What?
You look bored.
No.
That's just what we do. We do contracts.
We all live on the edge around here.
Do you want to stay, Bill, for the straight and Lucas and
Sure.
Leon and John and Andrew, whoever wants to come up as well, Leon? 39 Locust, we're moving into the phase of the police department renovation project to implement transition space for the police department. And so happens that the Board of Ed space fits the needs for 2 years, up to 2 years, 2 years. The original plan was to have the Board of Ed out probably by March. They're now planning to stay through June. And 39 Locust meets the needs, as I said, and also we have a blended rate, which is pretty comparable to comparable lease rates. So we are going to have to make relative. Actually, the main thing is to put a plug in for the emergency generator.
Yeah, we have to do a few things here to make the space meet the needs of the police department's usage, and that will include a generator. In this case, we're just going to do the docking station and plug a generator in, as opposed to creating a construction project and put a generator permanently over there, be temporary.
And we're not going to do a lot of renovation to the space because of,
There'll be some, specifically, we'll need to do some renovation on the entry level floor
Yes,
area
for the security.
accommodate our dispatch center.
Right.
And there's been some security issues. We'll maybe need to add some security cameras. I don't know what they have, exterior, interior, to some degree. not dramatic, and some other security issues for some storage of evidence and property that we'll need to make more secure.
And the property owner happens to own the adjacent buildings, 4951, and they're going to be very accommodating. There's 46 parking spaces or something already, but they will accommodate additional parking for at the adjacent parking lot.
I mean, that's the one challenge of the site. It's parking is going to be difficult. We're going to need to accommodate parking on the street and take up a majority of the spaces that are available. And
We have the
et cetera,
locust.
et cetera.
We have the locust lot too, though. So
right, we could use that for some potentially.
questions?
So we'll have to consider where the police vehicles are actually going to be located, right? Are they going to
Yes.
be, I forget where the parking is for that particular building, or would they be on the other property, 49?
Well, ideally on the, we'll see, in the interior, like I guess the underhang there is not really a great spot for our police vehicles to be, so.
It's
they'll have to be
terrible
on the
parking
outskirts.
regardless. whether-
Sorry?
It's terrible parking regardless.
Yeah,
It's really,
it's
it's really tight.
an odd lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's underground parking for like 14 spaces, and but currently the Board of Ed meets all their needs there.
Yeah.
But we have the ability to use the adjacent parking lot.
I'm hopeful we'll work with the property manager and be able to designate spaces so there's no confusion
Sure.
and try to coordinate everything. That's the one, it's probably the best option out of anywhere in town for our temporary
I
relocation.
think so, yeah.
But the parking is going to be challenging.
So it'd be
We'll figure it out.
100%, you'd be the sole tenant,
Yep,
and there'd be no other locations in town where parts of the police department would be located.
potentially next door, right, for 49.
There's well,
There's
there
some
is space.
there we might need
Yeah.
Okay.
once we start allocating it out. But it'll meet the majority of our needs temporarily. It's not ideal, but it'll work as a temporary space until we get our building completely done. We're grateful for that. So this is a historic moment for sure. Long time coming, 20 years.
And then some.
Yes.
Further questions? I move we approve the request to enter into a 2-year lease with the landlord of 39 Locust Avenue with a temporary occupancy by the police department beginning sometime after next June.
Second here.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
That's unanimous.
Thank you for support.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
We're now going to have a financial update on the June 30th year from our CFO, Ann Kelly Lenz.
So this one is more of a brief overview before we give you in more of a final. So right now we,
Just put this in front of you.
can you hear me now?
We can
Um,
hear you, but for the.
Oh, so from the expense side, on the town side, we will be coming within budget. We're cleaning up the last of the invoices coming in and getting all our year-end entries that will affect that P&L. On the revenue side, we are up approximately $2.4 million, which means out of the 5.2 and 60,000 that we budgeted to draw down the fund balance in 22, we'll only be using 2.8 of that. So that will go into our fund balance. The 2.4 will go into our fund balance. So we will break even on the expenditures and have an increase, under budget, over budget on the revenues, whichever way you want to look at that one. And from the budget perspective, Josh, the budget manager, and Tucker have been going through the timeline right now. They're working on all the different schedules that we need to put in place so they can roll it out to the departments to start the process for fiscal year 2024 already. So that's the overview of where we stand right now. Any
When are we going to
questions?
close the books, actually? So
So we're in the process right now. We, I will say we were down 2 people, so it's been a struggle to get all the work done. We finally caught up with all the June entries that had to be made, and now we're trying to get all the invoices done. We have a lot of invoices still coming in for 22. So I'm hoping to have be in a good place by the end of September with pretty much final numbers. We have just all the year end. We have a lot of reconciliations to do on the balance sheets. So that's very time consuming at the moment. But hopefully by the end of September, we'll have definitely we have to, because I want to turn the books over to the auditors in October. So I want it, 99% done.
That's the normal time the auditors start their review process? Is that
It's
right? Or-
usually September. We asked them to give us till October because the timeline for us was tough. But typically what I'm doing this year is I'm trying to get all those entries in that the auditors do for us.
Yeah.
So that we control our books. So I asked them if they could wait till October.
Mhm.
They've been asking for things along the way, you know, the simple things, the OPEBs, the pensions, things like that. But to give them the books, I don't want to have to turn over the books and then they do more entries. That's when things get lost. So I'm making sure that we have the majority of all the entries in.
And one last question I had, did we convert over to the banking relationship? I know we've talked about this, and was it supposed to be?
We did not.
We didn't.
We put it on hold right now because our biggest issue was that the virtual remote capture. It's been since I started in January, could not get that up and functioning. IT had put a lot of time into trying to get that going. The remote function just wouldn't work. It would mean we'd have to start
Remote,
manually.
like depositing
Yeah,
checks?
we have a lot, the tax collector's office, we have a lot of offices that use that. We don't take cash. So the checks are it. We would have had to either revert to bringing it all back to the bank ourselves, or the other would be to have standalone computers on the desks of each of the people that currently use it that wouldn't be connected to our security levels so that they could get the deposits in. So we put it on hold because we really need to make sure we're secure.
So we're still with Webster,
We're still with Webster right now.
and we don't have a commitment to Chase at this point.
We don't, no.
Thank you for the update.
Anything further?
I'd heard through the grapevine that monies at the Board of Ed might possibly be coming back to the town because the Board of Ed was under budget. Is that?
They are under budget, but they're doing some entries right now. We're trying to tie out their books. They want to do some entries to their internal service fund to put the reserve over there for what they believe was when their budget was reduced. So they've want about 1.6 million they want to send to their internal service fund, and they have about 600,000 they want to encumber. So that will pretty much use up their reserve, the under budget. They're under budget by about 2.4 at the, you know, for actuals, they're under budget about 2.4, but they have 1.6 in sending over to the internal service fund and 600 for encumbrances.
More on that subject later.
Yeah. That's my understanding.
Anything else? Yep. And you're going to stay there and do the volunteer.
The
tax
volunteer
payment?
abatement, I actually asked to table that unless you want to see it. The proper signatures aren't on the form.
Is there
because
one?
There's only one, and it won't affect the person because their taxes, it was late coming in. So it didn't hit the July tax one. So I want to make sure I have all the signatures in
Defer
place.
that for 2 weeks?
Yes,
Defer
please,
for 2 weeks? Okay.
please I request that. And then hopefully I can get more. We're trying to reach the others that have not submitted.
Right.
So that I can get more in.
This happened last year too. They sort of dribble in
Right.
over time. So,
Right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Yep.
Morning, Cheryl.
Good morning, actually, and you can join me. Good morning. We are here to present 2 staff positions. Ann was down 2 positions, a staff accountant and an AP supervisor. We received 58 applications for the positions. We interviewed 7, got it down to 2, and they're both in front of you. Rose Aderne will be the staff accountant. She has her BS in accounting. She's a CPA. She has worked for KPMG, Asarco, and other financial companies, as you can see from her resume. The last 10 to 12 years, she's been a stay-at-home mom and is looking to get back in the field. So we would recommend Rose to come in as a staff accountant. And Nancy has worked for the town of Richfield since 2014 in their health department. Before that, she worked for Pepsi-Cola and Philip Morris. She was an analyst and an investment supervisor, and she has her MBA. And we feel that both of these will fit very well into the financial area in our finance.
So these are replacement FTEs.
Yes, we
Yeah.
had 1 retire and 1 went to Norwalk.
Right. And these folks don't go on probation because sometimes
They're on probation for 6 months.
they will be on probation for 6 months.
Correct.
Okay. Terrific.
Any questions?
Just a comment. I love how Rose addressed her resume in
wasn't it
terms
great?
of her professional experience.
It caught a
Well
lot of people's eyes when
It
we were.
did.
Oh, God, yeah.
So great.
They
Very
look like
excited.
two great hires.
Yeah, very excited. I think they'll be a great addition to the department.
It's good. I move we approve the request from Human Resources to hire Rose Arduni,
Attorney. Yep.
Arduni.
Yep.
For the position of staff accountant, and Nancy Fields for the position of accounts payable supervisor.
A second?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Yep.
That's unanimous. Thank you, Ann. Now we can stay with Cheryl for holiday approvals.
So the holiday lists are in front of you. Tucker put that together. The new one that was added was June 19th. May 27th of 22, Lamont put this in as a legal state holiday. Our unions have negotiated it. So this would be for the non-union 35 personnel for June 19th.
Questions?
I'm sorry. What was the last thing you just said at the
This
end?
would be for the 35 non-union. The other unions have, the individuals
I
in the
see.
unions have negotiated
Got
it.
it. Okay. Thank you.
I move we approve the town holidays for 2023 as presented. Second,
Second here.
all in favor?
Thank you.
That brings us to contracts under $10,000. There's a few there. Any questions? Tax overpayments. One real estate and a handful of automobile.
Are you moving that?
I move we approve the tax overpayments on the tablets.
Second here.
All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Legal services. Ira Bloom is on by Zoom. I've asked Ira to address the legal services that we talked about 2 weeks ago, and Pam, is Ira there?
Yes, he is.
Comment was made that we had not done an RFP since I think 2012 for legal services. So I thought it was appropriate that we ask Ira as the town attorney to update us on where we stand with legal services. And personally, I don't feel a need to go out with an RFP, but so this is a question and answer session. Feel free to ask questions of Ira. But Ira, good morning. Why don't you just give a kind of an overview of. We can't hear you, Ira. Are you on mute?
He's on mute.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Good. Okay, I'm sorry. Good morning. Nice to be with you today. I did ask Kevin if I could have an opportunity. I'd welcome an opportunity to talk about the legal fees, legal budget. So he said fine, and we have that right now. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I was going to give you a little background. I've been reading your deliberations and some of the other articles. So I wanted to sort of address some of these things and hopefully answer your questions. Just by way of background, I know you have a busy agenda. You've had one already and you have more. So I'll try to do this quickly, but by way of background, I think you may know that I've been in this town attorney business this is my 25th year in Westport, actually. 4 different selectmen, both parties, 10 years in New Canaan, over 20 years in Easton, 5-6 years roughly in Weston and Wilton, and I do the land use for the last 10 years or more in Madison also. So this is what I do, and we have a team at Birch and Moses, of course, and you know most of the team. Nick is either on or will be joining us. He's a central part of it. Pete Gelderman, Doug Lamonte, Mario Capola, Eileen Flug helps out. You know, this is what we do. We enjoy it. It's always a privilege to represent municipalities, and certainly New Canaan.
Ira, you might mention the employment lawyers as well that do our CBAs and.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I shouldn't forget Floyd Dugas, Chris Hodson, out of our Milford office also. Thank you for that reminder. So in terms of, and by the way, on the RFP, I've never had an RFP put out for any of those towns while I've been serving as town attorney, not 24 and a half years in Westport, none of the other towns either. So I just wanted to give you that piece of information. As far as rates, we charge New Canaan $235 an hour for partners and senior lawyers, $185 per hour for associates. That's well below our private rates and most private rates. This is in line with other towns. So for instance, Westport is now at $245. Wilton is at $234. Weston is at $225. So it's in line with the other towns. There was a question about the retainer I picked up in one of your meetings. We charge $8,500 to New Canaan. We charge Weston is $8,000. Wilton is $8,000. Westport has retainers totaling $11,175. What is the retainer? Retainer is defined in our engagement letter, but it's basically day-to-day kinds of questions that come up, not litigation, not long-term adversarial projects, and not long-term special projects either. So for instance, a week or two ago, I was on vacation at the Cape and I had a call from Claudia Weber. I took the call. I tried to help her out. Pete Gelderman assisted. She had a question, just as an example, regarding a deed. Someone had come in with a deed, and attached to the deed was a doctor's letter with some very personal information in it. And she astutely said, you know, this doesn't seem like the right thing to do. So she called us, and Pete helped her out, got that deleted or modified. So, you know, those are the kinds of things that come up, not daily necessarily, but several times a week at least. And that's really the retainer. I can give you many more examples, but that was a very recent one. Also in the retainer, we do a lot of training for boards and commissions, and we pass out memos on new laws, new cases, et cetera. That was central to the COVID time when there were dozens of executive orders, and we were able to do this for all of our firms and save everybody money and send out the memos. And so that was a big part of it. Nick Vermonte was our lead person on that task. So all of that's part of the retainer. Legal budgets, let me just say this, they're very difficult to predict. I know yours has gone up and down. The budget's going up and down. The actual work is going up and down. It really depends on what happens, what kind of litigation exists. It varies from year to year. I've gone through this for 24 years in Westport and the other towns also. Some years it's up, some years it's down. Some years there's a fund balance at the end. Some years we need extra money. I understand that the budget was reduced. The actual budget was reduced this year or last year. So an adjustment sometimes is needed. I think it's pretty obvious in town why this year it's been a little higher, and that's attributable directly to the 830G cases that have taken place. There's 2 pending. There's a third one that's coming on Hill Street. We know that. That's been really the source of some of the extra work. There's great amount of work involved in those cases in terms of working with the town officials so they're prepared, so they understand the law under 830G, working with the chairs, working with the commissions, and attending the meetings. So that's really the number one factor, certainly for the past year or so. There are other issues which take some time. The library has taken some time with the MOU. There's also several Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, as we say, cases that have taken up a lot of the time, and the hearings have been Zoom, but they're going back to Hartford hearings this month. So that's been another element here. Speaking of FOIA, let me just digress here for a minute, if I can, and I want to correct a story that's been reported incorrectly in the New Canaanite. It's been reported twice, actually incorrectly. There was a reference to a FOIA case FOIA claim filed by David Marcados, citizen. The docket is 2021-0353. Mr. Marcados was seeking documents relating to Grace Farms. Referring to the case, the New Canaanites said on August 7, they said, quote, in June, for example, the state FOIA commission found that the town illegally withheld records. That is not correct. It never happened like that. In subsequent articles last week, it was repeated, but that's inaccurate. There was a preliminary report prepared by a hearing officer that was presented to the full commission. That's the normal pattern here. You go before a hearing officer and he or she does a report, goes to the full commission. In this case, the full commission met on June 22, 2022, this year. The full commission did not accept the hearing officer's report because the hearing officer erred. A mistake was made. So there was no finding at all of illegal activity by the town, by the commission, Free Information Commission. So I just wanted to correct that for the record, as long as I had your attention and I had the floor here. And as another, by the way, I just need to say that, New Canaan really does a good job with FOIA requests, largely primarily due to the efforts of Mimi Pitt. She does an excellent job. She's a lawyer by training, of course, and she does a great job in responding to people, putting the documents together, getting them to the person on a flash drive, usually communicating with the individual and providing the required information. It's a resource that a lot of towns do not have. I've joked in other towns that the other town needs a Mimi Pitt person. I've described her role and what she does, and we're lucky to have her because she does a really good job on this. So back on the legal fees, I saw that there was a question about in-house counsel instead of having an outside firm, and that's a good question, an important question, and I've had this discussion with other towns over the years. Most of the Fairfield County towns, with one exception, Greenwich, have chosen outside counsel, and the reason is, I think, fairly clear. You'll never get one or two or even three lawyers that have the background and experience and expertise to handle all the areas that we have to handle, whether it's FOIA, as I mentioned, land use, litigation, labor and employment, tax appeals. You just won't find that in one or two lawyers. So if you end up hiring 4 or 5, you're going to pay a lot more for salaries, maybe double what the budget is for an outside counsel. So that's the reason, really, that most of the Fairfield County towns have chosen this route. Greenwich is the outlier on this. It's a bigger municipality, of course, and they do have an outside, they do have in-house counsel, although they do call outside lawyers, because I've been called also. Even the towns that have in-house counsel, some of them end up using outside counsel because I've gotten those calls over the years. So it seems to work for most towns, and it seems to be the preferred approach. So that's that. So I'm kind of zipping through a lot of topics, but I didn't want to take more time and save a few minutes if you had any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Let me just comment on the budget. I think when I took over 5 years ago, the budget that I inherited was $355,000 a year. We kept it at $350,000 a year, and I think that was primarily because of Grace Farms, which had created a lot of both FOIA matters as well as the litigation with the neighbors. So I thought that was high. We brought it down to $300,000 for a couple of years, and this year we brought it down to $250,000. So we've been, and then to my surprise, I didn't expect 830G cases. And so I think the overage that Michael Diner reported of 32% was entirely related to 830G matters. So that's the budget. As far as an RFP, or as far as the quality of services provided by Bircham, we're really having 7 or 8 lawyers that we use regularly. We couldn't replicate that with one lawyer or two lawyers in-house. We'd still need, and you know, the quality of the work and the services we get are very, very satisfactory in my view.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to have this opportunity for you both to hear from Ira and discuss it if you want to, but any questions for Ira?
Thanks, Ira. That was very helpful. I just curious, and you certainly represent a lot of our, the towns in Fairfield County. What do you when you look at our budget, 350, and now I think it's about, it's 250,
250, yeah.
250. Is that sort of commensurate with other towns of a similar size? Do you have a sense for that?
Yeah, I do have a sense. It's commensurate with Wilton certainly and Weston to some degree. It's below Westport. Westport in this area has had a much higher budget, you know, maybe double that in some years. So, but I think in that 300 to 400,000 or 250 to 400, you'll find a bunch of similar towns. It's along the same lines, but they go up and down depending.
Sure. Right. And I absolutely agree. I think you've done a terrific job. Your organization's done a terrific job. Is it since 2012, 10 years now?
Right.
And I think the question I came up with when we were just reviewing the budget was not about your organization per se, but it was rather at what level in terms of a budget amount do you consider, I wouldn't say replacing an external law firm, but rather have a hybrid approach where you have someone internal, but also working with an external law firm. And have you seen other towns, and maybe not even in Fairfield County, but elsewhere of a similar size that has that combination?
Yes, I have. Woodbridge is one town. I've done some selected work for them, a cell tower application Nick and I had last year. That they have one in-house lawyer. I'm not sure he's in-house, but they have one designated town attorney. Honestly, I'm not sure if he works as a town employee or if he's just an outside consultant, but he calls himself and is, you know, the town attorney for Woodbridge, but he brings in other attorneys as needed. He brought us in. He called me on the cell tower, for instance. And my sense is that he does that for other towns. So you'll find that model exists here and there, where there's one person. I kind of look at it as it's maybe in lieu of the retainer. Maybe you could look at that that way.
Yeah.
And take the 8,500 times 12 months, and but candidly, you know, what experience level will you get if you convert that to a lawyer? You'll probably get a fairly inexperienced or younger lawyer that'll work full time, perhaps. So and you won't have someone with all the subject matters at their fingertips. So but yes, it does exist. I don't think I don't think it's as effective as doing it with a firm.
Okay, thank you.
You were involved with the selection of Bertram.
I was, and at that time we did do an RFP, but the prior, outside attorney for the
Solar practitioner.
town was a solo practitioner. Nice guy, but we needed a firm like Ira's firm that had the bandwidth, the depth, and you know, have an expert for CBAs, have an expert for FOIA, have an expert, you know, for land use. So, you know, I've been very pleased, Ira, over the years to have worked with you guys, and I think you guys have done a great job.
Thank you.
I would make one further comment. You know, Michael Dinan has made a number of requests, but I think we give Michael 99% of what he asks for. And, you know, occasionally when we withhold drafts of things, which we have to make a determination what's in the best interest of the town. And I always choose the interest of the town over Michael getting clicks. So that's something we have to continue to, you know, hold fast to the having the primary interest of the town always at heart. So.
I would just add that having Mimi focus on.
She's
FOIA
our
has been,
in-house lawyer, isn't she?
she is kind of an in-house, at least for FOIA, she really is in-house.
I didn't realize you have a law background.
I practiced for many years.
Oh, great. Super.
We have a great team.
So, yeah, you do.
She does a great job. Every town needs a Mimi Pitt. I've told her that. and I told her
Don't
this.
tell them that. I don't want to recruit it away.
No,
So,
no, no. I don't think she's leaving.
And the other thing is, for having brought the budget down, we have gone through a very active period between the library and preparing for the police renovation. And of course, the 220 Elm Street, we actually budgeted for in the transaction, but we've been, we got a lot going on. And so I'm kind of surprised we weren't going up in the budget rather than down. So,
Not to dwell on this, but the 830G, it's just very time consuming. We've had regular meetings with staff people to make sure they're doing this properly. They understand the law, they understand the procedure, and that's been very helpful. We've had meetings with the chairs of the different commission to brief them on the law, particularly P&Z and the Water Pollution Control Authority. This is all kind of new. So I think they find it helpful to understand what the law is, and that's what we've been doing. So plus attending the meetings and all that, responding to the filings from Attorney Hollister and et cetera. It's just a lot of time.
and I would also say, until this year, we never had an 830G as Darien and other towns have it. They've had settlements over 830G, monetary settlements. We haven't had that before. So the current strategy which our local developer is doing is to me makes no sense, and we will continue to fight anything that tries to urbanize or destroy the
Well, and with respect to the legal costs involved with 830G, I dare say I would suspect that if you polled citizens of New Canaan, there'd be overwhelming support to do what you can as a town to fight the fight and protect, as you put it, against urbanization and self-governing P&Z. We don't want the state telling us what to
So
do.
that's a good segue. Arnold. Ira,
Oh, yes. Don't call me Arnold.
thank you. Thank you for that. And if you would tell Nick's going to be joining our executive session at the end.
will.
That we'll be getting to him momentarily, but that's a good segue into our added item for the Preservation Alliance. If Neely and Lee want to join us up at the table, we're going to do a quick presentation on something that really came up at the last minute here.
So am I set for the moment?
Yes, thank you, Ira, very much.
All right. Thank you all. Nice seeing you.
Ira.
Thanks, Sarah.
Nick, we're just going to be a few minutes here going through the Preservation Alliance request.
Very good. Take your time. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Can we do this in 5 minutes, 7 minutes?
Less.
If we can get the images up.
Just as an aside, I think you know this, that Lee was actually part of the team that worked on the town hall here and the addition in terms of preservation. So
Yeah.
We're still paying for it.
what do you mean?
Front steps.
Oh. They were original. Look at Brenda Goldberg.
Who's doing the
Should be able to share.
Are you trying to get a presentation up or? Oh.
Yep, documents open. It's thinking. How do we share that?
There you go.
Oh, it's up.
Oh.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
We're here to discuss the Churchill Historic District. It turns out that we did a little bit of research and we have a
Why don't you state your names for the audience? Did you already? Yeah.
you're killing me. Okay. I'm Neely Banks Sticknoth, New Canaan Preservation Alliance. Lee Cromwell is here, also on the board of the New Canaan Preservation Alliance. We're here to discuss the Chapel Hill Historic District, Church Hill Historic District. When all the activity started with what is our local historic district, NCPA did some research and found that there had actually been a much larger historic district identified called Church Hill. There are approximately 100 structures in that. 67 of them were of substantial part of what could actually be registered with the National Registry, and they're all contributing. So it turned out that in 1990, that effort took place, and they did in fact identify it as a worthy of National Registry. And then however, the owners of the buildings, they couldn't get the percentage required to do that. So it just went on hold and went away. And then we, I guess as a local historic district, created the God's Acre District, which is just local. So if you can.
State. It required a local ordinance, but under state statute.
They did it prior to that in 1963. It was just local.
It's just
Okay, but local, you mean we adopted a local ordinance under state statutes to have a
correct.
And we only have one historic district.
Correct. This slide shows what the difference is between the two. The red is the existing local historic district. The yellow is the Church Hill Historic District, which actually, again, had been nominated and accepted as a national registered district, except that the owners decided they did not want to be part of a historic district.
Back then you had to have 60%.
Okay.
Right. So what we did is we contacted a group that we've worked with by the name of PAL. That is the Preservation Archaeological Laboratory. We are very familiar with them. We've done, that is who NCPA hired to do the Waveney National Registry. At that time, we had plenty of time, so we sent out the bids to at least a dozen different firms. They came in, I think we had 2 or 3 respond. PAL was the most affordable. We went with them and they did a great job. After that, St. Mark's used PAL for their registry. It was also very successful. And we've had any number of houses as part of the modern registry done through PAL. So they're very familiar with New Canaan. And they're a group that we found them to be reasonable. And so when we contacted them, the goal was to find out if they would be able to do this and resurrect what we know to be a National Registry district, or whether we should reduce it and come in with a smaller one. And that's what this proposal is to do, is to get us to the point where we understand what it is and then have the full documents completed and ready and submitted.
Where are they based?
Rhode Island. Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Yeah, so here's a document that shows this was part of the original 1990 map indicating what buildings were included. It goes down to the thrift shop, Vine Cottage is included. It goes up to Park Street and then Seminary, almost down to Elm Street and St. John's as well.
And north, it goes up to the driveway at the historic district.
Driveway.
the Historic Society.
Of the Historic Society, there's a
Historic Society.
driveway that between it and the next property.
Right.
Yes.
So it really is, as you can see, is much more expanded, and it will offer a tremendous protection to local residents. Now that we know that, you know, a third of an acre can wind up with a 20-unit development on it. So this sort of national registry gives us significant protection to our area and our local area. And frankly, you know, that this area is, as they said, as PAL has identified, they said that it is significant as one of the town's principal concentrations of well-preserved 18th through early 20th century houses and churches in the colonial, federal, Greek revival, late Victorian, and colonial revival styles. So it's really, this is a pretty special spot, and it's worth going through the effort to get this on the National Registry.
And your request is?
And our request is to, what we have done is, we contacted PAL directly, and we have, this proposal is really to the New Canaan Preservation Alliance. But we would like to partner with the town on this, because this is absolutely for the town. And we have offered, though, to do much of the legwork for PAL, so that it would be, we are able to get them to a very reasonable price. We've also, NCPA has done over the years a number of historic surveys. The last one I think we did was in 2015, which cover many of the structures within this district. So we have a lot of information for them already. Again, that impacted, you know, where they came in at this fee.
So I think the issue for us is we're kind of getting this last minute. We haven't had a chance to digest this. So I'm not sure we should vote on this today, but I think we should discuss it and decide whether or not we would be inclined to vote for it in 2 weeks. If that's
the issue, though, and the reason why we are here is because there's a little bit of a time constraint, a significant time constraint. The SHPO office, which is the State Historic Preservation Office, all acronyms here, they only meet quarterly. So for us, for New Canaan to be on that schedule for October, we have to have some significant work done ASAP.
right.
And then they would be able to put it and through at the early 2023 meeting. So we have actually already contacted the SHPO office and PAL, and so that we could walk around and have them take a look and see where these boundaries would make the most sense. So what we're offering here is that NCPA would become the intermediary for the town at this time.
But also pick up part of the cost.
We were willing to, yeah. What you know, we're happy to do anything above the 10,000 mark. And we've also offered to the woman from PAL to come down. We were going to pay her for the day to do that, because I think it's worth it for them to actually walk it and see what is still relevant and not. The SHPO woman, that's state, and we don't pay for that. That's her coming down and taking the time. We also want to spend a little time with them to talk later on, which is a completely different effort on the main Elm Street.
Right. Good.
So thank you for this. So just so I understand, so in 1990 is when the town or New Canaan Preservation.
I think it's
Alliance or-
1980. If you read the,
Well, she has 80 there, but it's
1990.
actually 1990 is the
That is a
document.
typo.
Yeah, that's,
The
Okay, so
New Canaan Historic Commission took care of it.
the Historic Commission did. Okay, okay,
and
great.
right now they really can't,
You mean
because,
Historic District Commission?
right,
Mhm.
because they're,
Dick Bergman was the chair.
Right.
Okay,
but there's a little bit, their hands are tied because they're involved with the Red Cross building.
okay, so there'd be a conflict if they were to pursue this. Thank you. And then the folks that the residents who turned it down, so we did not go forward back in 1990. what would be involved in terms of engaging with them to see whether or not their interest.
Right. So the first thing, that's one of our first efforts would be to verify who all the owners are. The first thing would be to figure out which houses are going to be conforming, which buildings. Then it is to verify who those owners are. And then what SHPO recommends and what we agree to is that it become a community effort where we do a few community meetings for all those who are involved, because there are 67 for the Churchill district. There are 67 participating units. So SHPO is willing to come down and do a presentation and explain to the owners what it will mean.
So I would,
Back in 1990, there's such a misconception about what being in a National Register district means. And, we'd like to correct the misconceptions. Nobody's telling any property owner they can't do this and they can't do that. In fact, there's a lot of benefits that a property owner can.
Right. So they get significant grants every time they do work on their house.
for tax deductions. So let me just mention one thing. About 2 months ago, I joined with 5 other first selectmen to send a letter to the Attorney General of Connecticut, asking him to protect our historic districts. He has the authority to do so. And, anything to protect our historic, we only have one historic district. Anything to protect the historic district, I think is something the town should be doing. So my attitude is, I think we ought to be supporting this effort.
I agree. I mean, I guess the issue for me is, and thank you for your efforts. I mean, to what extent, and this is a legal question, would obtaining this new larger designation of a historic district help the cause, which is the greater cause, which is 830G.
Right. And actually, since Nick is still on here and Pete Gelderman's not, but since this is in the context of what's going on with that application, I want to do this properly.
Right.
I don't want, we haven't had an opportunity to consult with our town attorney about what the proper way to go about this is. So I would propose that I can approve something under $10,000. And given the timing constraint, if you're going to do everything over $10,000, if the sense is that we want to do this, we could work with the Preservation Alliance to, first of all, I need to consult with the town attorney and make sure we do this properly. But if we need to do it quickly rather than waiting 2 weeks, I would propose that I proceed with the up to $10,000. And so that would sort of be the understanding. 1, I talk to the town attorney, and 2, we see if the need is there to proceed. And if it is, I would proceed up to $10,000. So the other,
no, I certainly wouldn't want to do anything to undercut the 830G arguments that we have against 830G. So I'm supportive of that.
And even aside from 830G, I mean, we just approved a number of weeks ago when we did a survey of Mead Park, which hadn't been done for 100 years. And I think this kind of falls in line with that too, just really giving us an understanding of, what might we have in terms of an additional historic district. And I think it's
a lot of buildings, the train station.
Where the train station is a great example. So I think it's worthwhile to do this study, and it seems reasonable. So
yeah, I also like the segue of
this is actually more than a study. This is preparing for an application for National Register status of either the current district or possibly an expanded district.
Right. And they will tell us what they feel they can get through quickly. But I also like the idea of having them stroll down Elm Street.
Right.
Work we're doing on the Playhouse. The buildings along Elm are amazing. And that it may be that we would like to have a second historic district.
I've thought about Maine and Elm just in terms of the Playhouse and and actually go
3, 4.
So
well, yeah, I mean, Canaan's a great place.
Anyway, so we'll proceed on that basis.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Very
ladies.
excited
Thank you
to
both.
work with the town for once.
It's almost 10 o'clock and we have a couple other agenda items to deal with. Nick, you're still with us, but let me see if I don't have any particular comments this week. Nothing really to report on COVID, other than we will be getting the vaccination or the booster available to do mass booster renewals probably before October 1st at Irwin House. I don't think I have anything else. Do you want to make any comments before we go to executive session? And I will move, we go into executive session, but first, do you have any comments?
Do we move into the Vine Cottage yet? Did they transfer over yet
Coming back over
this week?
as soon as they painted it inside, and I think they're
Oh, okay.
in the process of making arrangements to move. So
Great.
And we mentioned the town hall.
and I'd like you to stay for the executive session as
What-
well as Tiger.
What is the deal with the front steps?
Tiger, can you address the front steps? I mean,
We went out to bid, received the.
You're not in executive session.
not yet. We have to vote to go into executive
Somebody has
session.
to second.
Yeah, because Michael has to leave.
So we went out to bid, we received a couple of bids back. They were a little over our budget. So now we're trying to talk to the low bidder and seeing exactly what we could do to try to.
What was our
Budget.
budget?
Off the top of my head, I remember. I can tell you that, but I'll get the information. I just don't have it off the top of my head. So we were, there was some questions as to how to attack the drainage issues that we have along the building and then underneath the structure itself, and then how to maintain tolerances utilizing the existing materials that we have. So the existing materials we have are granite slabs laid on their sides, and they're not all uniform, but the steps have to be uniform by code. So exactly how to address that concern as well, because we want to put back the existing slabs to keep the look the exact same. That's also the price came in a little bit higher than we had anticipated. Now we're in negotiation with the contractor trying to determine how we go forward.
How about code in terms of ADA compliance?
A building code.
Building code.
Yeah, certain
we have
amount of rise.
Even though
Yeah,
we have an ADA accessible route to the first floor.
right. It's literally come down to a certain amount of rise and run on each one, and the tolerance is there on each, and the fact that they're not cut perfect. You know, they're not and they're been there since the beginning of the building from what I can remember. Or they're the original installation when we put the granite steps in. So we're just working towards that end. We should have something to you shortly to try to finish.
So
it
we're going to
off.
try and do this year?
I'd like to, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's the goal. Just to
Thank
try to button it up and do it once and for all, basically.
Thank you, Tiger. Nothing else?
No.
I move we go into executive session at 9:59. We invite in Ann and Tiger and Nick Bamani, our town attorney, with the town attorney's office, and anybody else?
Pam?
Pam, if you want to stay, you have to stay. Thank you.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Rick.
Signed off. We're leaving executive session and it's 10:21. We have no further business today. We have no action to be taken today as a result of the executive session. So with that, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye.